state your full name and spell your last name, please.
Marshella Martin, M-A-R-T-A-N.
Thank you.
Good morning, Detective. Detective, what do you do for a living?
Deputy in the Northern Sheriff's Office,
How long have you held that position?
19 years.
And do you have all the training, certification, and education necessary to be a police officer in the state of Michigan? And were those all in place on April 20th of last year?
Yes, sir.
Were you working that day?
No, I was called into work.
Okay, why were you called into work?
I am an inspector at the Sheriff's Department, and I'm in charge of the evidence and power.
And where were you called into specifically?
Swan Boat Club.
And that's located in Berlin Township, Newport, Michigan County, Monroe.
Yes, sir.
You responded to the Swan Boat Club,
Yes, sir.
and once you got there, did you receive an assignment?
Yes, my job as an evidence tech is to take pictures of the crime scene for the sport.
Did you take photos while you were there?
Yes, sir.
Take photos of the scene?
Yes.
And you also took some of the MEI photos, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
For the jury, what does MEI stand for?
Medical examiner investigator.
And what is that?
The detectives are trained, and some of our deputies are trained to take the bodies for a free medical exam for the autopsy. And that works.
And those photos go to the medical examiner eventually. And so you took both photos of the scene and photos of the kids who had passed away. And you've had an opportunity since to review those photos.
Yes.
And they're a fair and accurate depiction of what you saw of the scene that day.
Yes.
So, Judge, people are going to move to admit People's 8. That's 8A to 8 quadruple N. That's 8 N, 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 N. Photos taken by Deputy Martin at the scene of the Swan Boat crash. People would note for the record that although she did take MEI photos, we are not submitting those to the jury.
Mr. Mayor, I think this happened to be 15 seconds, so I confirm you can be stipulated to immediate top fire on this building. No objection, Your Honor.
People's 8A through 8 quadruple N are admitted.
Thank you. Do we understand the published these at this time, or just for the jury upon deliberation? Deputy, or detective, I'm sorry, you're also assigned to run the evidence for the sheriff's office, is that right?
Yes.
And so you deal with blood samples from OWI investigations on a regular basis, is that right? What does the sheriff typically do when a blood kit from an OWI investigation comes into the evidence room?
So the deputy then collects it, puts it into our evidence lockers. They're secure evidence lockers, and I'm sure.
Your Honor, I would object to this. It would be irrelevant as to what sometimes they do. It would be, in this case, what was done.
It is to show the conformity of procedure with this case with typical procedure.
I think it is a procedural issue. The objection is overruled.
So our evidence lockers, we have a hallway that is open up to the deputies. There's 56 lockers. Each one has a key, and it's secured. Each box has keys differently. So when the deputy collects a sample or any piece of evidence, they get into our computer software, describe the evidence item, toxicology kit, whatever it is, and then there's a section that's called temporary evidence locker. The computer tells you which lockers are open. They select the locker. They then walk to the hallway, confirm that that locker is open by having a key. They drop it in the locker, lock it, and then they put the key in the locker. Every one of them select the keys. And then the evidence property room has those same lockers on the other side. The only people that have keys to the evidence room was at the time myself and Captain Richmond. I was responsible for the daily activities of that in those lockers. So every day I come in, I tell you where the evidence are, in the locker, inside the evidence room, running up to the evidence that's there, and then the toxicology kits, they would typically check it in the computer, I move it from temporary storage to external out of service, or not out of service, out of custody, and I put it in the mail. Mail, whatever it is for that.
Is that what, so are you familiar with the toxicology kit from this case?
Yes,
And up to what you described, were all those procedures followed to the best of your knowledge?
yes, sir.
But did you place that toxicology kit in the mail?
So this one did not go into the mail.
What did you do with this kit?
Deputy Krieger came to me and said that he was going to personally drive it to the lab and see.
Okay. Does the Monroe County Sheriff's Office refrigerate toxicology kits? In your 19 years employed by the Sheriff's Office, have you ever known this?
No.
Okay, no further questions, please.
Cross.
the state refrigerates the toxicology of blood. Do you know what the state wants they looking at that they refrigerate?
I do not know.
That's good. I didn't know if you had any experience with that. I don't have any other questions.
Yes, what's the excuse?
From the people, yes.
Ashley?
Does we call Lieutenant Ryan Tilly?
Do solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give in this matter before the court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do, sir.
Lieutenant, would you state your name and then spell your last name for the record, please?
Ryan Sicily, SOTT.
Lieutenant, how are you employed?
I work for the Girlfriend Insurance Office.
How long have you been in that role?
20 years.
Any prior law enforcement experience?
No.
And do you hold all of the trainings, education certificates, certificates, office certificates?
Yes, sir.
And were those up to date on April 2024?
Yes, sir.
Were you working on April 2024?
No, I wasn't.
You were off duty on that day?
Yes.
Were you called in?
Yes, I was.
Why were you called in?
I got a call because I operate our drone. So I got a call from the sheriff. I see what he's saying. Moved the drone on scene.
What is the drone you use?
It's a small unmanned aerial vehicle. It flies in the air with a remote controller and screen on it. Has a camera, has infrared camera. And then some-
So you take photos with it?
Yes.
Does it take video too?
These videos and too.
And on April 20th, were you sent to the Swan Boat Club?
Yes, I was.
Is that to take photos with the drone?
Yes.
And do you know about what time you would have arrived?
We arrived at scene at about just before 5 p.m.
How long after the flight?
Yes.
And the veteran drone. And on that day, did you deploy the drone and take photos of the Swan Boat Club surrounding areas?
Yes, sir.
How does, just briefly again, how's that?
Get the drone out of the box. This is some assembly required. Put the battery in it, put the blades out, turn it on, turn my remote control on, my controller on. It runs self-check, it grabs GPS, make sure it knows where it's at before it fly. And then, 2 levers and it takes off.
Do you decide what photos it takes? Does it just snap automatically every second?
There's on the controller, I can push the video to take photos. I also can set it up to automatically take photos while it's flying.
What did you do on that day?
I ended up doing both. I had a fly pattern, take a bunch of pictures just with the mosaic if we needed it, and then I manually took different pictures at different positions on the scene.
How do you get the photos off the drone?
The camera is mounted on the drone, and there's a micro SD card on the camera, so once the drone comes back to the ground, I pull a micro SD card out, and then I insert it into a computer, I take the pictures off of the card.
Did you have an opportunity to review those pictures?
Yes, sir.
And are they fair and accurate representation of what you saw that day?
Yes, sir.
Judge, people are going to move to admit 9A through 9 triple D, that's 9D. 2 or 3 were previously that they are just the air drone photos.
I don't have any objection.
Okay. People's 9A through 9DD are admitted.
DDD, Judge.
DD.
Triple D.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you. Lieutenant, the defense going to proffer 9K to the jury. Lieutenant, this is the photo you took? I said, Lieutenant, this is the photo you took?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and this is the pavilion, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Where is Lieutenant's home located in progress to this?
I'm not 100% sure. I know it's down the street.
Okay, and, I'm going to offer now, Judge. Lieutenant, can you tell me what this is?
It's a picture of the pavilion or the really party at. There's a hole inside the building.
The hole is where the defendant's vehicle entered.
Yes, sir.
And what are these right here?
So pieces from the building or pieces of the building?
Are these telephone?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, there's all holes. Yes,
To your knowledge, the defendant's car passed between those 2 holes.
I believe so, yes.
And,
Objection, Your Honor. There was a foundation of how he believes that happened.
could I ask if you have knowledge?
Either he has knowledge or he doesn't. The objection.
And, I'll also cover 9LL. And this is just a close-up of those same telephone poles you took this photo?
Yes, sir.
I have a quick question. This was
No question. You say
are you moving to admit HH and LL?
Judge, I believe they were already admitted all through that statute, we just gave you, I'm just polishing the jury.
All right.
Thank you.
Cross?
No.
All right, thank you. Next witness. Next witness?
Judge Bates, with the excuse?
Yes.
Thank you. We call Detective Jeff.
You solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be recorded shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Detective, would you state your full name and spell your last name, please?
Jeff Hooper, Hooper. I apologize to the court with my voice. Residual from a issue a couple weeks ago.
All right, no problem. Go ahead.
Thank you, Judge. Detective, how are you doing today?
I am currently the sergeant for the Detective Bureau of the Monroe County Sheriff's Office.
And what does that mean? What does it mean, James? I'm sorry.
So I supervise the detectives and the investigations that come through the Sheriff's Office.
How long have you been in law enforcement?
I've been in law enforcement now for 24 years.
Is all of that with the Monroe County Sheriff's Office?
Yes,
And you hold all training, education, certification necessary to be a certified peace officer in the state of Michigan?
I do.
And that was all up to date on April 20th, 2024?
It was.
Were you working on April 20th, 2024?
I was not.
Were you called?
I was.
And on that day, were you still lead sergeant?
I was.
And how long have you been a detective?
I've been doing investigations now for approximately 10 years. About 9 of that is detective and then 1 year as a supervisor.
What was were you involved in the investigation at Swan Boat Club on April 20th?
I was.
Was that in the supervisor role?
Yes.
How did you become aware of the crash?
I received a phone call from Lieutenant Zeman requesting assistance with the investigation.
You know approximately what time you arrived?
I arrived approximately about an hour and a half after the initial crash, I believe.
4:30 then
Yeah,
approximately?
4:30, 4:45.
Was the defendant still on scene when you got there?
No,
What did you observe when you arrived at the Swan Boat Club?
just chaos. There are a lot of investigators there, starting to do the investigation, different aspects of the investigation, whether taking pictures or doing, various things.
And did you at some point enter the Swan Boat Club?
I did.
And how did you enter it?
So I entered through a little breezeway that was kind of to the left of where the car had entered the building.
At some point, did you enter the main building?
Yes.
And why did you enter the main building?
We learned that there was video surveillance, and I was meeting with somebody to get that video surveillance.
Somebody from the boat club gave you access to their surveillance?
Yes.
Were you involved in executing a search warrant of the defendant's home?
Yes.
And do you recall when that was executed?
Monday, so I believe that would have been the 22nd, I believe.
April 22nd, 2024?
Yes.
2 days after, correct?
Yes.
And what were you looking for in the search warrant?
Specifically, DVR with video footage of around the defendant's house.
Surveillance video from the defendant's home?
Yes,
And did you locate any cameras during the execution of that warrant?
we did.
And how many did you locate?
4.
Do you recall where they were?
Yes.
Where they were?
There was one on a barn that was across the street from the main residence. There was one on a garage on the same side of the road as the residence, kind of facing down, facing the car. Then there was a camera that was facing the door of the main entrance of the residence. And then there was also one in the kitchen of the residence.
Did you discover what those cameras were connected to?
Yes.
Can you describe what that was?
So it's a digital video recorder, or DVR, which stores the video footage.
Where did you locate that DVR?
It was located upstairs, I'd say like a utility room with various other things in it.
Inside the defendant's home?
Yes,
Was it functional on that day?
yes,
Did it appear to be recorded?
yes,
Were you able to determine if it was connected to the cameras that you found?
yes.
How did you go about that?
So basically, I looked at the video footage that was currently being recorded, and it was my detectives doing searches, the cars in the driveway, and so it was like that.
What was the manner of recording?
So the manner of recording, it was, Wi-Fi, it wasn't hardwired to the DVR, so it was.
Do the cameras record 24 hours a day, 7 days a week?
No, we later learned that the cameras were motion activated.
Did the video recording have timestamp on
It did,
it? Were you able to check it for accuracy?
yes.
How did you do that?
So when you're on scene, when you're looking at a DVR playing live, what you basically do, what I do is I pull out my phone, look at the time on my phone, look at the timestamp on the video, and compare the difference.
Did you find it to be accurate?
No,
What was different about it?
so that one specifically was an hour slow, So if it was 3 o'clock in the afternoon on that DVR, it would show 2 o'clock.
The DVR will show 2 p.m.
Yes,
The timestamp will show 2 p.m.
yes,
Do you have experience with video recording devices similar to what you found at home?
yes.
Can you briefly or tell me your experience with that?
So when I'm doing investigations for 10 years, there's always a large surveillance aspect to investigations. And so by doing those for 10 years, I would go out to various businesses and utilize, with their permission, utilize the export functions on DVRs. And if you use, most DVRs are similar in nature to how you get the video off of it. So
Did you seize that DVR?
we did,
And were you able to examine it in terms of the recording? I think it was 2024?
yes,
It wasn't.
yes it was.
Did you find the video pertinent to around time of crash?
Yes we did,
And were you able to extract any copies of those videos?
yes,
And you were able to access it?
yes,
Did you review that surveillance video?
yes,
And is this a copy of the recordings?
yes,
Not all of the recordings?
Correct.
Just those purchased around time of the accident?
correct.
All right. Do you know what camera this video is from? What camera is it? This one more than one?
I look, depending on the video, I believe it's the one from across the street on the barn. It showed the car leaving residence.
Judge, we're going to move to admit Exhibit 11. That's the first one. Publish first.
Responsible.
Your Honor, can you give your photo?
Sure.
Yes, Judge, this is.
You may go ahead, go ahead.
And just to say, Your Honor, we had a sidebar on that, if I may, on record reflect that I consent, and don't object.
201,
And your reviewing it, what time you actually moving back to the,
301,
which, does that correspond with the time that you had crashed into someone?
yes.
And in your role as detective in this case, do you know what time that crash occurred in Swan Boat Club?
Yes, it's right around, I believe it was 3 o'clock and like 50-some seconds, somewhere right around there.
In your investigation, did you discover any other crashes the defendant was involved in on April 20th?
Yes.
What did you discover?
So through this video, we learned that the defendant had crashed excuse me, into her neighbor's truck with enough force to push it back over a fence.
Do you know approximately how far she pushed that truck?
I didn't measure it, I estimated 20 feet.
Is that the truck you can barely see the corner of the video?
Yes, and then also off the screen there was a little pine tree that just to the right, if it would have been in front of the truck on the side of the road, that she also crashed into.
I know it's off the screen, but are you saying it would have been over here off screen?
Yes.
Or on this side of the street over here?
Across the street.
Right here, on
Yes.
this side of the street where this truck was?
Yes.
So she crashed into a pine tree?
Yes.
And then she crashed into the neighbor's truck?
Yes.
And then she crashed into Swan Boat?
Yes.
In your investigation, you able to determine approximately how far the next home is from Swan Boat Club?
Just by using Google Maps, approximately 550 yards, or, I'm sorry, 550 feet.
560 feet.
550 feet.
Judge, we would ask you to show on screen 9K, please. Detective, is defendant's home on this screen?
Yes,
It is where I'm highlighting?
yes.
And what is this across the street?
The barn where the cameras.
And so the neighbor drive is put on this side, on the other side, right, just off the screen?
Yes.
Judge, I'm gonna move to publish exhibit 9, trouble ZZZ. And, Detective, do you know what this photo is?
Yes.
And can you see Ben's home in this photo?
Yes.
Can you describe the jury where Ben's home is located?
So it would have been, it's towards the bottom of the photograph, that house right there.
This is
Yes.
her home?
Yes.
And this is the garage across the street you referred to?
Correct.
Is this the neighbor's vehicle that she crashed into?
Yes, it is.
And that's the fence you described?
Yes.
Did you be involved in an interview with the defendant?
I was.
When did that occur?
That occurred on the day after the crash.
So that was when?
21st?
Sunday, April 21st?
Yes.
Where did you conduct that interview?
At the North Carolina Sheriff's Office.
And who was present during the interview?
It was myself and Detective Motley.
And was it recorded?
It was.
And you reviewed that recording?
Yes.
Is it accurate representation of the interview?
Yes.
Has it been edited to your knowledge?
No.
No. Were portions that are inadmissible taken out for jury's view?
Yes.
Judge, we will move to admit exhibit 10 that we not intend to proffer to the jury this time. Judge, it is hours long, and
You've not seen this?
we provided defendant months ago. Judge,
I don't know, I understand that, the part of it, but I don't know if that's the same one that I've seen. I don't mind tonight looking at it, and then in the morning, Your Honor, I can consent or object if it's not the same. I can't just do something blindly, sort of. And I don't mind putting the hours in tonight after the report.
defense has a copy on his desk, Judge, I'll reserve this witness, we can bring it back up tomorrow.
All right, we'll do that.
Thank you, Judge. If your representation is, I'm sorry.
Judge, no further questions this time, obviously, we're going to hold this one.
Understood. Cross.
Is it Sergeant?
Yes.
And you're a detective, correct?
Yes.
And you were a detective at April 20th.
Yes.
Were you the one primarily in charge of the case?
No, it was a team effort on behalf of a lot of sheriff's office personnel. just kind of coordinated that.
Now, you executed a search warrant at my client's home at about, would you say about 3:12 in the afternoon? On April 22nd, 24th.
I'm not sure of the exact time. I thought it was possibly before lunch. I'm not certain.
The records, at least the ones I looked at, say about 3 o'clock or after 3. Could that be wrong?
I haven't seen those records. My recollection is it was a little bit earlier than that.
And are you aware of me filing my appearance with the prosecutor's office?
Objection, Your Honor. How is it relevant?
I'm asking you, can I ask the question?
Well, the question is whether it's relevant or not. When you filed your appearance?
Well, because I was never contacted and I want to confirm to the record of when I filed my appearance, if you can say yes or no.
The objection is just.
If you don't mind, I asked the prosecutor if you could cue up the second picture that was. I appreciate it. May I walk over there?
Sure.
All right.
Don't just speak up.
I will. Could you go back to the one prior to this, please?
Time on this one?
Prior to that, or another one?
Are you asking for the video or the picture?
No, there was a still picture. There was a still picture, and you had said in the upper right-hand corner, or was that the actual video, but it looked like a still picture?
Okay, hold on just a moment. You're referring to this?
Yes, thank you very much. Officer, can you see?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And I'm not so tall, but there's a tree about right here. Would you agree?
Yes, there's a microphone.
And this video that you obtained from my client's home security camera, does the original one show that tree? In other words, this goes back, let's say on this screen, 4 inches or 5 inches. So you looked at the original one.
The video that I extracted was given to the prosecutor's office. That's what yes.
Guess what? That there was a tree?
Yeah, there was a tree. Not in the video that I saw, no.
Is this a duplicate of the original that you took from my client's home?
It's the original, yeah.
This is the original?
Yes.
You didn't make a copy for the prosecutor, and that's what's being shown?
I extracted the video, put it on some media, and then put it in the evidence locker.
When you say extracted, what do you mean by that?
So when you extract the media, you go through the DVR, say what videos you'd like to export, and then you put that on some sort of media, whether that be a flash drive, or a thumb drive, or a pocket drive, and then that is then placed into the visual evidence locker of the sheriff's office.
Did you have somebody that was trained in IT, or did you handle this yourself?
I did it myself.
I don't have any other problems.
Redirect.
Detective, does this video appear the same as how you originally saw it?
Yes,
Did you make any changes or alterations to the video?
I did not.
You follow.
No, Your Honor.
Yes.
We're going to call Deputy Burkhart. I think he's short enough to finish before lunch.
Okay.
Please solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter before the court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do. Deputy, if you would state your name and then spell your last name for us, please.
Deputy Nicholas Burkhart, B-U-R-K-H-A-R-T.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. Deputy, what do you do for a living?
I'm currently employed by the Newport County Sheriff's Office.
How long have you held that?
I was hired in April of 2006.
You have all the training, certifications, and education necessary to be a peace officer in the state of Michigan?
I did.
Those are up to date today?
Yes, sir.
And they were up to date on April 20th of last year?
They were.
What's your assignment in the Sheriff's Department, Deputy?
I'm currently assigned to our department's Services Division.
Could you explain to the folks on the jury what traffic services is?
The Traffic Services Division is a unit of the Sheriff's Office that responds to traffic crashes that involve critical injuries or fatalities.
So for lack of a better term, you folks do accident reconstruction and crash investigations.
That is correct.
Were you working on April 20th of last year?
I was.
And were you dispatched to a scene that brought you here to testify that?
I was. At the time of this incident, when it occurred, I was handling a separate injury traffic crash in Monroe Township, and I responded to this incident after that one was completed.
Okay. What did you do where did you respond?
So I responded to the Swan Boat Club, and then upon my arrival, I began taking preliminary photographs of the scene. I also was assisting other deputies on the scene.
Was your primary assignment in the role to which you were assigned traffic services investigation?
Yes, it was.
And to that end, you took photos of the scene.
I did.
Did you also oversee the extrication of the vehicle from the building?
Yes, I was present when the vehicle was removed from the building, and then I followed the vehicle after it was taken from the building to an inside storage location in Newport.
You answered my next question. It was stowed by ship snowing
Correct.
and stored there at their tow yard.
Yes, it was stored in an inside lot facility.
So you took your photos of the scene before the vehicle was removed?
Correct. I took additional scene photographs prior to the vehicle being removed, yes.
And then did you take any photos back at Jim Snowing?
I did. On the 22nd of April, I returned and took additional photographs.
Yeah, this is what's been marked equals 13A to PP. You've seen these photographs before?
Yes, sir. I have.
And these are a fair and accurate representation of what you saw of the scene and of the vehicle back at the tow yard?
Yes, sir.
No objection, Your Honor. People's 13A through People's 13 PP argument.
Thank you. Deputy, I'd just like to view a couple of those photos with you. Can we bring up 13L? Deputy, what is this depict?
This depicts an overall front view of the vehicle that was involved in this incident while it was in the inside storage facility at Jim's Towing.
We can see M, please. And what is this depict?
This is a closer up version of the damage to the front of the vehicle.
And if we can see N. What is this depict?
Again, this is another picture of the front end damage, just kind of focusing on the right side of the vehicle.
So you initially went to Jim's Towing on the 20th. You returned on the 22nd to continue your investigation, is that correct?
That's correct. I followed the vehicle to assure that it was placed in a secure inside storage facility, and then I returned on the 22nd to continue the investigation.
Other than taking photos, did you do anything else as related to the vehicle?
Yes, I did.
What did you do?
I stood by while an employee of Jim's Towing removed the vehicle's event data recorder, so I could take it back to the sheriff's office as part of the investigation.
What is an event data recorder?
An event data recorder is a module in most motor vehicles that will monitor various diagnostic points of the vehicle. It kind of constantly overwrites itself until an event occurs that causes the data points to be locked in.
Have you received any training with regard to event data recorders?
I did. In August of 2021, I successfully completed the Bosch CDR technician training that was provided by the Institute of Police Technology and Management at the University of North Florida.
So Bosch CDR training, what is that for the jury's understanding?
So the Bosch CDR is a computer program that allows us to image the data that's been locked in a vehicle's event data recorder and use that image to produce a report that can be analyzed.
So you took custody of the physical device, the physical unit from the tow truck, correct?
That's correct.
And once you took custody of it, what did you do?
Once I had possession of the EDR module, I returned to the sheriff's office and utilized the Bosch CDR software to obtain an image of the data that was stored on the EDR module itself.
Have you done this sort of thing before?
I have.
How many times?
I would estimate a few dozen times.
And this extracts information from the unit to create a report, you said?
Yes, it takes an image of all of the saved information on the module and generates a report for it.
I'm going to show you what's been marked people's 14 as a stipulated exhibit, but just show it to you, identify it, could you tell us what that is?
Yes, I can. So this is a copy of the Bosch CDR report that was generated as a result of the image that I took of the data that was on the EDR module.
Okay, and that's the EDR module. Well, let's back up, I never asked you this. What kind of vehicle is this?
It's a Ford Edge.
Okay, do you know what model year?
I do not know off the top of my head.
So at this point, Judge, people will move for admission of people's 14 as a stipulation.
We would stipulate it already.
People's 14 is a bid.
Thank you. So, despite how many of these you've downloaded, are you qualified to discuss the context of the report?
I am not.
Why not?
There's a separate course, which is an EDR analysis course, and I have not attended that yet.
So you're qualified to procure the image, but not to analyze it and discuss it?
Yes, so my qualification is for the use of the CDR imaging tool that allows us to obtain the image from the stored data.
No. Do you have any further questions for Deputy Bernhardt, Judge?
Cross?
Deputy, that's what you're, keep my voice up. You didn't do any reading or interpretation of this whatsoever, there's nothing there, am I correct?
Correct.
Okay, I don't have any questions.
It is what it says.
Yes.
Thank you.
The Deputy Lieutenant Quinn is necessary, unless he might be a longer witness.
All right. So ladies and gentlemen, we're going to break for lunch. I'm going to remind you that you're not to discuss this with anyone, including each other. I'm also going to ask that you be back in the jury room promptly at, let's call it 1:15, give you a little extra time today. Again, when you're in the building, don't loiter around immediately to the jury room, and we'll be starting at 1:15. Thank you.
Average 13.8 miles per hour,
And what was the accelerator pedal percentage?
100%.
So, aside from just, I want to say just, but aside from analyzing this report, you're familiar with the full scope of this investigation, is that correct?
I am.
And you're familiar with the video evidence and investigation by other deputies, is that right?
I am.
That crash that's recorded by the EDR, can you equate to the jury what real life event that memorialized?
Looking at the image itself, the operator of the vehicle for the first event had the vehicle in reverse and went into like a U-shaped motion and then crashed into another motor vehicle. But that first crash, there was no airbag deployment, but it created such an event that the EDR recorded it. And then shortly thereafter, there was another event.
Okay. So, in the context of all the other information you know about this case, what crash is that EDR event referring to?
The very first EDR image,
Yes.
it's referring to the very first crash, motor vehicle versus motor vehicle.
Okay. And Lieutenant Quinn, I'll refer you to the table for a second. You have that?
I do.
In that, did the, well, first of all, the EDR recorded it, and it recorded back 5 seconds from the time of the crash, is that right?
That's correct.
And in reviewing the entirety of the EDR image and the investigation, what crash does this reflect?
This image reflects the vehicle striking the building.
Can you tell at the time of the crash whether or not the braking system was engaged?
Yes.
Was it?
No.
Can you tell at the time of the crash what the accelerator pedal percentage was?
96.6.
What does that mean to you in terms of real life, in terms of what someone's doing in front of you?
That was the floor.
And can you tell me, Lieutenant, 5 seconds prior to the crash, what was the vehicle's speed?
29.5 miles per hour.
How about 4 seconds prior?
30.3 miles per hour.
3 seconds prior,
30.7 miles per hour,
2 seconds prior,
32.9 miles per hour,
1 second prior,
37.8 miles per hour,
and at the time of impact, 0.0 seconds.
44.3 miles per hour.
No further questions, Judge.
Cross?
Sir, does it matter if the vehicle is a two-wheel vehicle or a four-wheel vehicle?
Does not.
And, so you're putting that, you weren't there with the scratch of course occurred, correct?
That's correct.
So you're relying on, a mechanical device, correct? Relying on a device not a human being, right?
That's correct.
Okay. And you're saying it was approximately, 40 miles an hour or thereabouts, correct? At the time of impact of the building?
I can only tell you what the 2017 Ford, that airbag module reported as in the image at 44 miles per hour.
Yeah, I'm sorry, how fast?
So 44.3 miles per hour.
And would that occur to reach that speed about 400 feet away from that speed you just mentioned in airbag deployment? Would that be, to reach that speed at 450 feet away, you'd have to pretty much put the pedal down to the metal, so to speak. Am I right? In other words, you would be driving 5 or 10 miles an hour and slowly drive. That goes many seconds for 450 feet. You got the pedal, especially in gravel, to the floor. Would you agree? Or close to the floor.
I would say 50% of the floor.
I don't know.
Any follow-up?
Briefly.
Just on that issue, Lieutenant, just looking at the same graph, just presently, just looking at the accelerated pedal percentage, going from 5 seconds to 0.0 seconds. Is it consistent or consistently rising, or does it fluctuate?
For the second time?
Yes, sir.
Yes, I'm trying to.
Also, the third part from the second event, on page 27, how does the accelerated pedal percentage start at 5 seconds?
As if she's not pressing on the SL.
Okay, and then what does it go to at 4.5 seconds?
59.3%.
And at 4 seconds?
0 again.
And at 3.5 to 3 seconds?
80.1%.
And at 3 seconds?
82%.
And then at 2.5?
0 once again.
And then at 2?
100%.
So it's not consistently held to the floor?
No, it's not.
Okay, no further questions.
Just one question. Would it be consistent with somebody initially putting the pedal to the floor, well, I don't know what way to say that, and then he's up, and then pedal to the floor again? Is that how it looks? Or does it look like somebody put it to the floor and then just eased up and cruised into the building?
No, just from reading the image itself, and again, at 5%, there's rollers up. So the phone doesn't even really give it any pressure at all. But as we continue, obviously, you can see by the image that she is pressing on the gas, she releases the gas, and then she gets on it once again, so it's back and forth.
So it's almost like there's a seizure, or relax, and almost all, and a seizure again on the floor. Well, there's detention overnight. Do you agree with that?
Objection, I think that question is highly suggestive.
Well, I'll withdraw it, but okay, I think the jury.
All right, this witness be excused.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Next witness.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to call Diane Medina. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give in this matter before the court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Ms. Medina, would you state your name and then spell your last name for us?
Good afternoon, Ms. Medina. Thank you for being here today. If I ask you to repeat something, just lean in a little bit to the microphone, okay? Ms. Medina, are you familiar with the Swan Boat Club? How are you familiar with that? And how long have you been a member of Swan Boat Club?
10 years.
Are you currently a member of Swan
I
Boat?
am.
Were you present at the Swan Boat Club on April 20th of 2024?
I was.
Why were you there that day?
I was there for a child's birthday party.
Did you know the child?
Not directly. I've met him maybe once or twice. Friends with the mother.
And who is his mother?
Kristen Singer, Judy.
what time you arrived to the party on that day?
I do, I got there about 10 minutes to 1.
Can you describe the party when you first arrived through the next hour or so?
It was beautiful. It was, I could jump at people. Was there any kids? Dream or big party? It was just special.
At some point, did something cause the party to come to an end?
It did.
What happened?
I came through the wall.
Where were you sitting, if you can recall, when the car came through the wall?
And back, I was sitting at a table with my back to the wall where the car entered.
Do you have any memory of that?
I do.
What do you recall?
I remember hearing, like a loud explosion, a bunch of like dust or debris going from the sides of my face. I remember being pushed. And I remember everything went silent for a split second. And I remember saying, don't step on me, because there was a bunch of stuff on top of me. I found out later they were tables. People were pulling the tables off me.
You mentioned a moment ago that it all went silent. Did you lose consciousness that
I
day?
don't know that I did. I do know that I had a concussion, but I don't know if it was like a moment stopped for me in my head, but it was like silent and then chaos.
Was the video released in any art? Can you describe the chaos that you just referred to?
I just remember people screaming, I remember people running around.
Sorry, Ms. Medina, we're going to wait. Thank you. Ms. Medina, did you incur any injuries as a result of this incident on April 20th of 2024?
I did.
Can you just briefly list for the jury some of the injuries that you incurred?
My pelvis was broken in 6 places. I had a screw that's 6.5 inches long around my pelvis. I had internal bleeding. I had to have surgery to stop the bleeding. I had to have a blood transfusion. A concussion, like I said. My nose was crushed. I had 2 surgeries on my nose. I had hematoma the size of a baseball on my arm. My tibia was fractured. I found that out later once I started walking.
And I know you mentioned the loss of consciousness or something. You were sure that was the case. Did you ultimately get diagnosed with a closed head injury?
I did.
And, I don't know how much you can elaborate on that, but just based off of your medical treatment, what, if any, treatment have you sought regarding that closed head injury?
I had to go to speech therapy.
Have you had any memory loss?
I did. I had a little bit of memory loss, but it was during conversations. I would lose my train of thought in the middle of a conversation and I had to find my words.
On the day of April 20th, 24, do you recall if you were taken to the hospital?
I was.
What hospital were you initially taken to?
Originally, I was taken to Monroe.
And did you stay at Monroe?
I did not.
Where did you go, if you recall?
I was taken by ambulance to Toledo because it's a trauma hospital.
Do you know how long you were in the hospital?
I was in the hospital for a total of 17 days, 10 in Toledo, and that's 7 in our rehab facility.
And so from Toledo, were you discharged to that rehab facility?
By ambulance, yes.
And Ms. Medina, you went through a list of the injuries that you incurred. As you sit here today, what injuries are you currently still dealing with?
I just recently had, I believe it's called an EMG. I had 2 tests done on my nerve because I'm having nerve pain in my right leg. I'm not sure if it's caused from accident nerve damage or from the screw that's going through my pelvis.
Obviously, we watched you walk into here today. You're able to walk?
I'm able to walk, but it does hurt to walk every step.
Was there a period of time when you were not able to be moving?
Yes, for 3 months.
Do you have trouble, and you said every step hurts, do you have trouble sitting for long periods of time?
I have to, not, I do, but I, kind of shift, yes.
This might sound like a silly question, but prior to the crash, did you suffer from any of these injuries?
No, I did not.
Did it hurt to walk prior to this crash? Are you in pain at the moment?
Right now, no,
Do you take any pain medication daily?
I do not.
At the time of the crash, so April 20th of 2024, were you employed?
Yes.
How were you employed?
It's quality control for Hollingswood.
And are you currently employed in that same position? Did you have to take any time off of work?
Yes, I took, I went back to work September 6th.
So approximately, if you can tell me how long?
4 months,
4 months?
from April 20th to September 6th.
That's okay, approximation is totally fine. And, if any, what kind of therapies are you currently still treating with?
I am not doing any therapy, where therapy was bothering my nerve and my legs, so we stopped until we figured out what's going on with that.
Ms. Mr. Nino, thank you for being here today with all the questions that I have to you.
Cross.
Who else? I'll show.
All right, thank you. Just a minute. Next, please.
Thank you, Judge. At this time, the people will call for the step.
You solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter before the court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Miss, would you state your full name and spell your last name for us?
That is going to be Leah Stitt, and that's spelled S-T-I-T-H.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Leah. Thank you for being here today. If I tell you to say something again, it's just because the microphone needs to pick you up, okay? And it speaks out. Leah, are you familiar with the Swan Boat Club?
Absolutely.
How are you familiar with the Swan Boat Club?
Me and my family have been going to that boat club for about 9 to 10 years.
Were you present at the boat club on the date of April 20th, 2024? And what brought you to the boat club that day?
It was my little cousin's second birthday.
So you knew the birthday boy? And that was your cousin?
Definitely.
Do you know what time you arrived to the party that day?
I want to say around 1:30, I'm not completely sure.
And can you describe the party? What it looked like when you arrived?
If anybody knows Tweety, they know she can throw a large birthday party. It was beautiful. There was just circus decorations everywhere, everyone was having a good time.
At some point, did something happen that caused the party to end?
Yes.
What happened?
From what I remember, there was just debris flying everywhere, and it seemed like an explosion had gone off, and that's what I just assumed because of how much havoc was going on. But when I had woken up, I couldn't physically move, so I just heard everything around me.
Do you remember if you lost consciousness?
Yes, I did.
At some point, did you come to realize whether it was an explosion that caused the party to stop?
Once I was able to move, I could only move my leg and my neck. It was probably just shock, but once I could move my neck, I looked over and saw the car keep working.
And I know you mentioned that you lost consciousness. Did you have any other injuries as a result of this crash?
Yes, I had 3 broken ribs, a punctured lung, a broken sternum, a giant hematoma in my head, as well as a concussion, and severe PTSD.
On the date of April 20th, 2024, do you remember if you were taken to the hospital?
Yes, I was.
Do you remember what hospital you were taken to?
That was, they may have renamed it now, but Trenton Beaumont at the time.
And did you have a stay at the hospital?
Yes.
How long were you there for, if you can recall?
About 3 days, I want to say 2 nights, 3 days.
And I know you went through a list of injuries, but how are your injuries as we sit here today?
Physically, I'm doing okay. I still have random aches and things along those lines, and I am in the gym all the time, so I feel like I'm not secure doing certain movements just in case something's not right in my body, which that's an everyday thing for me. Mentally, that's a whole other story. I don't drive myself places very often now. I'm very afraid of getting in cars, especially when others are driving. My anxiety has definitely gotten a little worse because of what happened. It causes random outbursts of it. Along with the PTSD at the time, I'm in a car, I have it's like panic attacks. But besides that, there are no lasting injuries besides mental.
Were you employed as of April 20th, 2024?
Yes, I was.
And where were you employed?
I was employed at the Keeler Ford dealership.
And I know you've since moved out of state since then, but as a result of this incident, were you off of work for any period of time?
I was off of work for a few months, and then I started doing part-time it got a little overwhelming because I was working the cars constantly. And considering every time I'm in a vehicle, I get severe anxiety, I just try to avoid driving, but I recently decided to get a new job, try and forget what had happened.
Prior to the incident, do you know how much you were working at Newport, how many hours a week?
50 plus,
And then after this incident, you said you were coming time?
and I was doing maybe 15, 20 hours a week.
Mia, how old were you at the time that this accident occurred?
I was 18.
That's all I have to say.
Cross-examination?
I have no problem.
All right, thank you. Next witness.
You solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give in this matter before the court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Miss, would you state your full name and spell your last name for us?
Mariah Dodds, D-O-D-S.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Dodds, you're the mother of Zayn, Alanah, and Zayn Phillips.
Yes.
Where were you headed on April 20th of last year?
I was headed to a record party
Where was the party?
at the Swan Boat Club,
Have you been to the Swan Boat Club before?
just the night before the hot decorating.
What garnered you an invitation? How were you invited?
I'm the little boy's, godmother.
And that was because of your relationship with Kristen Saylor at the time?
Yes.
Do you know what time you arrived at the birthday party?
It was, approximately at 2:08 p.m.
And did you come alone or who attended with you?
No, I had my mother, my 3 children, Jada, and Zayn, and then after Alex Phillips.
Once you got to the party, what did you do?
When we got there, we, just explored what was all set up. There was multiple tables and games, a bounce house in the backyard, and the kids just roamed around and had fun.
At some point, did you tell the kids it was time to eat?
Yes.
And you didn't arrive till 2:05, so do you know roughly what time it was that you said it was time for lunch?
It was close by 2:50 p.m. because it was right after Happy Birthday sang.
What is the last thing you can remember from the birthday party?
After they sang Happy Birthday, my kids got their food, they were eating, and eventually when they were done within a few minutes, they ate pretty fast. We were gonna go outside, back in the backyard to go on the jump houses, but I placed a cake pop in front of Zayn and Alanah, so that way they would be able to get one before they got ran out. And that was the last thing I remember.
So you don't remember the crash at all?
So,
After the crash, what's the first thing you remember?
waking up in the hospital.
Do you have any recollection of the boat club after the crash at all?
Just, I remember trying to open my eyes and it was black, like I was asleep or something, and I heard like long distance voices. And it was just a few things that I heard, and then that was it. And then I woke up in the hospital.
You don't remember an ambulance ride or anything like that?
No.
The first time you woke up in the hospital, what was your condition?
I was choking on the tube that was in my throat.
You had innovation, a breathing tube down your
A
throat?
ventilator. And then I was asleep, and then I woke up again.
woke up and you were able to assess yourself, what did you realize had happened to you?
Well, when I opened my eyes, I seen I was in the hospital room. And at that point, I didn't have the ventilator on my throat and my wrists were free. They weren't shut down. I heard my sister next to me crying. I asked her, why am I here? And she said there's been an accident, and it occurred to my brain that how I was in a building the last time I remember at a birthday party. And then I freaked out because it hit me, where was my kids at? And then that's when she told me that Jada was, life flew to a hospital and Zayn and Alanah were no longer there.
And you're in the hospital.
Yes.
Do you know what position you were in at that time physically?
Yeah, I was starting to freak out and wanted to jump up, but I couldn't. I was hooked up to so many of the wires and machines, and at that time I didn't feel no physical pain because of all the medication they were pumping through me.
Did they put you back to sleep again? Do you know
Yeah.
at that time?
Yeah, it's like I tried to scream, and then everything was black again.
At some point, when you had an opportunity to gather yourself, were you able to learn what injuries you had suffered?
Yes.
What were those from?
I had a punctured lung, broken ribs, broken shoulder blade, hematoma in my pelvic. My chin was busted open. My lip was busted open. I had mouth injuries resulting in losing a tooth and nerve damage throughout my face because of my teeth.
Do you know, by the time you were able to wake up and comprehend all this, how long you had been in the hospital under sedation?
Oh, just what my family told me.
It was days, so.
I didn't wake up till the next day after the accident. And I got released from the hospital 4 days after the accident.
When you went home, were you able to walk and move freely?
No.
What kind of impediments did you have when you went home?
I had to use a walker if I did get up. It was very hard to move around. I couldn't get into a vehicle for probably a month. If I did, it was hard. It hurt severely. I couldn't sit straight up. I couldn't lay down, flat down. And it was just rough. I just sat there basically until I healed, until I made progress and moved around. And I had physical therapy come to my home to work with me. And then that was helping. And then they sent me to outpatient therapy, and that helped extremely.
And how long did that all take?
A couple months.
You said that you learned that your son Jake had been life-flighted to a different hospital. How long was Jake in the hospital?
2 weeks.
When he came home, he eventually came home to your house.
Yes.
Were you able to care for him? At the time, how old was Jake?
He was 11.
He's 12 now.
Yes.
Did Jaden receive any home care? I know you mentioned physical therapy for yourself.
Oh, yes. He had physical therapy, occupational therapy, and a regular nurse coming to the home.
Do you know what injuries he sustained?
Yes.
What happened to Jaden?
He had multiple broken bones that consisted of his wrist, his fingers, he had a broken pelvis, his legs. He had a big gash in the back of his head. He also had a punctured lung, broken ribs,
Did
and
he
a
have to have,
concussion.
did he have to have surgery?
Yes.
Do you know what part of his body he had to have surgery on?
His finger, his legs.
How long, well, first I'll ask this way, Jaden's not gonna come testify today. Is Jaden able to walk and get around today?
Yes.
How long did it take for him to be able to do that?
3 months, I can't remember the exact time frame.
Mariah, you were able to bring a photo of Zayn and a photo of Alanah for the jury to see today, is that right?
Yes.
Mariah, raise your children.
Yes.
Any other questions?
Ross? Yours? Keep going, keep going. Every time I work on your case, I think you will. I think you're just. Listen. And my good friends are trying to. And you seem like a much stronger person than me.
Sorry.
Man up. I wish you the best. People keep telling me God is a friend. This is and so I just wanted to come up and try to show up the word that I created to help you along. And I don't have any question for you, but
Judge, I people appreciate
I'm
Mr.
done.
Lotus.
I'm done.
Thank you very much.
Please be excused.
Please.
Thank you. Next one is
Sorry. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give in this matter before the court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Your Honor, please go. Very good.
Yes. Just need your full name for me and spell your last name, please.
Joshua Malowitzki, M-O-T-Y-L-A-N-S-K-I.
How are you employed this month?
I'm employed by the North County Sheriff's Office.
And how long have you been employed there?
I have been employed there for 13 years.
You have one law enforcement career prior to,
No.
and you hold all of the trainings, education, certificates that you police officer in Michigan?
Yes.
Were those up to date on what's on the 2024?
Yes.
Were you working on the 2024?
I was not.
You were employed by the sheriff's office?
Yes.
And what was your assignment or role at that time?
I am a detective on that particular day. I was on call status.
How long have you been a detective?
At that time, I was a detective for about 2.5 years.
Were you involved in the investigation at Swan Boat Club on April 20th, 2024 and subsequently?
Yes.
What was your role?
I received a phone call from my supervisor, Detective Sergeant Cooper. He called me to inform me of the incident and asked me to respond to the scene.
And also there was a determination made, what officer would lead that investigation?
Yes.
Who was that?
That would be me.
And so you were off that day, you said?
Correct.
You were home, so how did you get to the Swan Boat Club?
I got dressed in my uniform, and then I proceeded to get in my patrol car, and I drove to the Swan Boat Club.
Where is the Swan Boat Club located?
It's in Newport, Michigan, off of Branch Harbor.
Is that Berlin Township?
Yes.
County Monroe?
Yes.
State of Michigan?
Yes.
What did you observe when you arrived at the Swan Boat Club?
When I arrived, there were many medical personnel and police agencies on scene. When I got there, I parked my patrol vehicle and I made contact with the supervisor of the road, Sergeant Romeo. I also made contact with Detective Martin, who had arrived just prior to my arrival.
You know approximately what time you would arrive?
I arrived at 4:30 p.m.
Is the defendant still there?
No.
During the investigation, Detective, were you able to determine approximately how many victims in total there were?
Total victims, there were approximately 12. Serious injuries through my investigation, there's 5.
And you entered the Swan Boat Club, I assume, on that day?
Eventually, yes.
And what did you see inside?
Total disarray of what appeared to be a child's birthday party. There was tables, chairs thrown everywhere, food, just total destruction.
Did you see any remnants of alcohol at this party?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Any empty beer cans? Any beer bottles? Any kegs in use? Detective, what is a medical examiner investigation?
Medical examiner investigation is a investigation done by a detective or deputy that is trained through Dr. Carl Schmidt, who's our chief medical examiner for Monroe County. An investigation done by one of those people trained to help the coroner basically it was them understanding what happened at the scene. So it's a report prepared by a medical examiner that shows what the scene was, take photographs, and then that report is turned over to the coroner by the medical examiner for autopsy purposes.
Is that because they're not coroner on the scene?
Correct.
So explain to the coroner what occurred on the scene.
Correct.
And did you conduct a medical examiner investigation in this matter?
I did conduct 2 that day.
You did 2, one for Zayn and one for Alanah.
Correct.
And what were the nature of your findings? Where was Zayn Phillips located in relation to the crash?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Where was Zayn Phillips located?
When I arrived on the scene, Zayn was in the back of the ambulance in the parking lot of the Swan Boat Club.
But as part of your investigation, were you able to determine where he was prior to that?
Yes, through my investigation, after the vehicle impacted the building, it was determined that Zayn was under the front driver's side tire, which is the party. They had lifted the vehicle and removed Zayn. At which point, another civilian took Zayn outside and laid him in the grass, right near where the hole in the side of the building was. At which point, they would have to go personal to that.
Was he pronounced dead at the scene?
He was.
And what about Alanah Phillips? Where was she located?
Alanah was located wedged between the door between the breezeway and the pavilion party area and the front passenger side of the vehicle.
Yeah, where she was assistance.
Yes.
Judge, I have one marked as people's proposal exhibits 23 and 24. These are the reports for Alanah and Zayn. I think the supervisor will move to admit those. Okay.
People's 23 and 24 are admitted by stipulation.
And similarly, Judge, exhibits 26 and 28 are stipulated. These are the MD reports. Okay.
26 and 28, people's 26 and 28 are admitted by stipulation.
Second, I'm going to hand you exhibit 26. You know what that is?
This is a case summary on the death of Alanah Phillips.
If he please, profit of jury, cause and manner of death for Alanah.
Cause of death is multiple blunt force injuries, and then in parentheses it says instantaneous. Their death is accident.
And I'll hand you marked exhibit 28. You know what that is, Judge?
This is a case summary on the death of Zayn Phillips.
And you tell me the cause and manner of death for Zayn Phillips.
is multiple blunt force trauma. And in parentheses, it says seconds dash minutes. That's actually.
Thank you, Richard. Judge, I provide all those to your staff. And Detective, as your role as the lead investigator on this matter, you were able to obtain medical records for Mariah Dodds, Diane Medina, Leah Stiff, Zayn Phillips, and Edward Smothers.
Yes.
And Judge, I believe these are stipulated too as well, but for purposes of the record, I move to admit Exhibit 34, medical records for Edward Smothers, Exhibit 33, medical records for Diane Medina, Exhibit 32 is medical records for Zayn Phillips, Exhibit 31 is medical records for Leah Stiff, Exhibit 30 is more medical records for Ms. Medina, and Exhibit 29 is medical records for Maria Dodds.
All of those exhibits are admitted. As stated.
Thank you, Judge. Judge, I have no further questions.
Cross.
You were investigating this case, Judge, right?
I investigated it as well as multiple other investigators.
But there were multiple other investigators, right?
Correct.
Did you ever chance to go execute a search warrant for Burns?
I did.
Okay. And how did you come about for information you gave to Burns?
The information was relayed to me through the deputy's prior investigation. She had been arrested.
What was it that I should say? What was it based on in that period of the facts that made it Burns and that's what this is?
I believe the defendant told me that deputy's issue.
Who's that deputy? I apologize, you have to speak up a little bit.
From the other deputy's investigations, she advised one of the deputies that she had been furnace prior to the incident.
For lunch?
Yes.
And that would have been about what time do you recall? That you based your search warrant about what time?
Noon.
And so did you and or other deputies go out to Vernos and sort of close out the area and sort of crime scene?
Other deputies did.
Would that be like a no tape or something, or just, private, don't come in?
When I got there, there was no yellow tape. It was just.
And the search warrant, your investigation, you participated in that at Vernos Bar, or whatever it's called?
Correct.
Okay. And did you talk to somebody there? Is there like a telephone or somebody?
I did not. Sergeant Cooper was with me. Who talked to the monitors.
And did your subpoena, were you able to get copies of any receipts that would have been in my client's name?
Through a search warrant, I got a receipt.
And what did that receipt show?
The receipt indicated that she had purchased some food and 1 glass of wine.
1 glass of wine and some food?
Correct.
And did you get a chance to talk to anybody that waited on her served her, such as Kelly before?
I did not.
Would have Detective Cooper, do you think he did, or no?
I'm not sure if it was Detective Cooper or a deputy that was arrested.
Did you have any other proof that my client had anything else on the premises?
At that time, during the search warrant?
During the search warrant?
No.
And were you aware that when my client was initially interviewed at the crash scene, that she told one of the investigative officers that she had a glass of wine at lunch?
Yes.
And Vernos, does that line up with what my client told the officer? With what happened at Vernos with a glass of wine? Vernos, 1 glass of wine.
Right.
Does that line up with, she said 1 glass of wine at Vernos?
While I was at the scene?
Correct. Read back. My client stated at the crash scene during the investigation of the work that she said she had 1 glass of wine at Vernos at lunchtime with friends, correct?
Correct.
And then when you executed the search warrant, unannounced search warrant, you pulled up a receipt from either a charge or a debit of my client's, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and it showed 1 glass of wine, correct?
Correct.
And it showed some chili or fish sandwich or something like that, right?
Correct.
Thank you. I don't have any other questions.
Let me redirect. Commissioner. It's my understanding you don't have any of those.
That is unfortunately true today, Judge.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, as you might imagine, a case with so many moving parts, experts, lab people, that type of thing, sometimes it's difficult to get everybody in the same place at the same time. So the prosecutor is, that's all they have for today. So the good news is we're going to leave for today. So I'm going to remind you not to discuss this case with anyone, spouses, friends, neighbors, or even amongst yourselves.